based on 9.6 nowadays and the players that have figured it out. So KT should pick that up. The Lissandra, of course, Yasuo is banned once again, so no chance for shenanigans there. And this all makes sense if they do lock this in.
I think they'd probably have to, otherwise you feel like you have egg on your face if you left open Lissandra after this particular ban structure. I think Hanwha Life will be happy to play Corki into it. I don't think Corki is a team comp solution. In fact, we talked about the start of game one, all the pitfalls that Corki comp can fall into, but just the mind game of having smashed them with it should be enough to raise it in terms of tier list priority. Speaking of priority, we'll see where Hanwha Life is at in terms of that. Some teams will take Ezreal Tahm Kench in this spot if they want to go for a safe duo lane. The Jarvan priority, given Mugen's MVP, is going to be higher. Lucian Braum could be considered as well and is open. And they will be picking up the Lucian, at least to open up the draft.
Yeah, Hanwha doesn't strike me as a team to try to counterpick for support. So we might see it coming out here soon, but could also see another one of those solo lanes picked up, but looks like it will just be the Galio for now.
In years past, he played a lot of one-off supports. The Nami, for example, he's played this season. He's a Blitzcrank player, a Bard player. I actually think there is a chance they hold on to that Galio flex for a while. If you remember the hovers in game number one, they were clearly considering Galio mid before they eventually settled on the Corki. So there is a real chance that Hanwha Life will extend this flex. If they don't take Corki at Temp's pick, it'll probably be banned by KT and force the Galio to be a mid lane to start to run out of champions that you're pretty comfortable laning into Lissandra, so he can be considered as well. And we talked about Ezreal, Tahm Kench, and Ashe in general as a pick. It's actually going to be Gango this game on the Ashe.
Yeah, other side of the aisle, as you guys can see, and well, they were hovering the Jarvan before. It worked out in game one. Looks like they're going to prioritize that above everything else after the Lucian and the Galio, of course. So Mugen once again will get his pick.
See if KT does ban any mid laners here. Zoe and the Corki could be considered, or if they just try to make some inferences about the Galio and change things. Olaf gonna still be banned, but this time it's against KT Rolster, champion who can duel very well in the early game. Do you ban Rek'Sai based on tier list, or do you return again to game one analysis as Hanwha Life Esports? That remains to be seen, as KT will actually ban away the Aurelia with their first ban in the second round.
Spanned out second round in game number one, as well as Yorick and Ryze. So already the Ryze is banned, but if they want to return to similar top lane stuff that could be taken off the board, you could do that. And as I say that, the Nico is going to be banned away here from Kingen. Didn't get banned in game one, as the Jace was picked up, and they didn't think that the Nico would be put in response to that. So does get taken away here, though.
Vladimir open so far through the draft and could be considered by both teams to round out a draft. It will not be banned. It's going to be the Braum ban. The side of Hanwha Life. See what the choice will be. We already mentioned the Nami as a laning support. Nami is very strong in the 2v2 against a lot of champions that are being considered. We take it into Tahm Kench that he has so much experience with. He's played 13 games of Tahm Kench so far. They're going to hover it for a long time. You would imagine that you want to extend the flex for longer with the Galio. That's what they decide. There's a small chance to support Kennen. It's a Gorilla favorite, something that Key has played in the past, but it's very rarely played. So we're thinking that it's a top lane blind pick. We know, as you were motioning to there, Valdez, a lot of synergy with the knock-up and in general, the initiation available to Hanwha Life. They say, if you want the Rek'Sai, stick with it. Kingen has been practicing a lot of KL and solo queue for a while now.
Yeah.
He'll get a chance to play it in game number 2. Second KL of the LCK.
Really excited to get the chance to cast. Was watching it yesterday as she does a lot of damage once she hits that level 16 and sometimes even level 15. So we'll have to wait and see if that does find success in this game here, as Talia is going to be picked up. I would have to imagine that will be hopping into the mid lane, as even we were talking about this before, that Talia seems to be a bit stronger in the mid lane nowadays and is slowly coming back.
Pretty bold to choose it into a ranged opponent in the top lane, and also consider the sort of fights the Hanwha Life are looking for. They already had Galio Jarvan, so you knew they were rumble pitting, right? They're very much about hard engaged team fights. Kayle, yes, she can go invulnerable and make someone else invulnerable, but she's an auto attack champion, and there's just a chance that you're womboed to death here when it comes to the sort of fights that Hanwha Life can cause. Now, skirmishing 2v2, 3v3, KT can find leads, but in a true 5v5, you think that Kayle will actually struggle to put out the sort of damage that Noguri was pumping out in the game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, the one-man pick, not necessarily what Hanwha Life is going for. They're going all in, and if you can't get into that backline and catch Kayle, will be difficult if he doesn't have good positioning to land that ultimate effectively and make it actually work in the team fight.
And the second part is important because it's not really effectively used on yourself outside of an escape scenario, right? In a team fight, you want to use it on an ally because you're disarmed during it, but who are you really using it on? It's the only diver on your team is Lissandra, who already has her own self-ult, so it doesn't feel like a comp that screams Kayle as a finishing pick. It feels like it's more being picked as a top lane carry that does damage. So I don't feel this is the best spot for Kayle, and the lane matchup should be a tricky one, even though Kayle laning is being more and more solved as teams have more time to put in games to a champion that clearly in solo queue is popping off.
See if they can make it work in Kayle's second time coming out here after her rework. Excited to see if it does work out, as game number 2 is going to start right now. Getting straight into the action as Sang-in showing him who's boss in the bottom side around. Sang-in able on the back of his team, getting really far ahead, just able to hop around as Kai'Sa in the team fights and do his thing very easily, but we'll see if he can make it work on the Lucian this time around.
Get to zoom in on Kingen. I think we're going to see a different flavor of Kayle today. Notice we do not see the rune choice that we saw from Kayle yesterday. Now, Kleptomancy in this matchup is pretty hard to use, as you're a largely melee champion for most of the game against a ranged champion, so Sowan will be the champion with Klepto, the cannon. It's in fact going to be fleet footwork for a little bit more sustain in the laning phase. And this, of course, does mean that you cannot have access to the level 10 evolve that we saw when the skill point was picked up in our series for Damwon Gaming for Noguri yesterday. So will this also mean a change in build? Because in Korea, Q-Max, Trinity Force, Rapid Fire Cannon, basically the Corki build going into Infinity Edge 3rd, has been the standard for Kayle's with the Kleptomancy. But first the Kleptomancy is gone, will the changes come in build path? Because we know that Kayle can kind of build any item and feel pretty good about it.
Good ward here on the top side. As we saw yesterday, they were able to get an early gank down that allowed Kayle to have a much more comfortable laning phase, just getting that top laner away and dead very early on, but he already moves in, just coming on in, looking for a gank, and then going for the Scuttle Crab, pretty standard stuff. Gonna look to take both of those Scuttle Crabs here, as he did in game number 1.
Never mentioned this, we didn't really dwell on the point, but Tempt ended up with that last pick, Taliyah, and going mid lane on Taliyah. In Korea, it feels like mid lane Taliyah is the modus operandum on the champ. It's getting picked more and more. Some of the matchups that are around, Tricky the Syndra matchup, for example, is one where you need the Banshee Veil. Cleanse against Lissandra, you can actually just, try to match wave clear as much as possible. You're not going to win the wave clear push like you used to, but you're still going to be able to be competitive there. And it's another global for this lineup that has hard engage wherever they go. So definitely some nice pieces. And we talked about how KT probably wanted to skirmish. When those skirmishes happen, you start surfing with your rock surfing, or the Galio swoops in, and there's a chance Hanwha Life can outnumber in the sort of game plan that on paper KT want to play.
See a little bit of trading in a lot of the lanes, mid and bottom already. You can see that, especially early game even, Tempt is going to be doing quite well in the pushing. Both of those mid laners using or all the stacks of their Corrupting Pot, but also the Minion Dematerializer, the changed one, was taken by Tempt. I saw him take down a melee minion, so looks like he might just be focusing on taking out that front line. Kalia's combo with the seismic shove and the rocks, you can do a ton of damage, and if you do hit an item point, you can kind of just one-shot them after you do use the 3 dematerializers on the melee minion. So I do like that choice, just for adding that extra bit of damage to her wave clear.
And I think you mentioned minion dematerialize. There was a short interview with Mad Life about it in the pre-show kind of patch rundown that was translated by Jason at the opening of yesterday's show. I feel like his analysis on the item that was relayed to us was a bit misleading. In terms of support, it is kind of a direct nerf, because usually it was a tank support taking it to snipe away the cannon minions in a bad laning matchup. But I think in mid lane, it's actually overall a pretty big buff, because it's flexible also. You can now uniquely get access to way more caster creep damage than you could before. There's champions like Ahri who can just get 3 stacks on the caster minions and escape with 12% more bonus damage to those minions and clear backline with Q a lot easier than she could before. So I feel like it's kind of unexplored, and it might actually have pretty big impacts on the tier list, because just being able to clear backline minions, as we all know if we play League of Legends, is a really big thing when it comes to roaming and hitting the map. And whether you're going to just use it on all minion types and get balance damage, or you're going to stack it on one minion type, the fact that you can stack it so quickly and so flexibly, I think is a pretty big buff outside of support.
Would have to agree. I've been playing around with it a lot and playing Talia mid even, and it does seem good. Muchin is going to be looking for his first gank here. There it is, but the cleanse comes in from Snowflower. Lots of damage still coming out, but again, it is cleanse Tom Kench, so will be able to disengage from that one by only using the cleanse.
That's double summoner used in mid lane. I assume that was a score gank, but we did not have vision of it. Tempt losing both summoners does mean that he's going to be under a lot of threat, because of the timing series. Almost level 6 is BDD. So that is definitely a lane where Tempt will be calling his jungler and saying, Muchin, your new job is get me some sort of control and information around the mid lane.
That's exactly what he's doing, hanging around this mid lane. He is only level 4 as well. Seismic shove, but no actual damage. And you can see that Muchin actually hits level 5 on that one too. Key making his way down, but doesn't have flash. So literally, it looks like they're just waiting for a gank and trying to bait for the counter gank, but no such gank does come through.
I think the first movement, we knew the call would be there from the mid lane because you need him. Someone actually, I believe, maybe took a turret shot there, but took a nice burst damage. It is Q-Max, like we expected, onto the KO. We'll finally get that replay. Score was lying in wait. No flash had to be used, but Score not able to actually gap close and do any damage. Actually, as Muchin, to me, your only job is to battle war. If you know where the enemy jungler is, your mid lane is not going to be solo killed from full health by Alessandro. It's not going to happen before items are picked up. All you need to know is that no extra members would be there. So I feel like sticking around so long for the counter gank was unnecessary. You pointed out, Valdez, you can see on the screen that this information to the side of KT, nice control ward, does spot the red buff.
We'll see how much value it does get, and if it does become a heroic ward, and we may have to name it here before long, but for now, just gonna spot Muchin getting that red buff, so that was Score's ward as well. He put that down very early on as Muchin was clearing Krugs and getting level 4 on that first clear, so it's just going to be sitting there for now. As Ocean Drake gonna be the first one here. Muchin looking to clear out any vision, but there is none.
I have a name for the ward. When we get to 9 minutes, I've decided that it will be long enough for me to name this KT red buff ward.
Excited.
Second ward put down now, so it's likely that area is going to be explored and perhaps not have the long stating that needs to be there for there to be a name for a ward.
You don't really want to name something that's going to die, you know, very, very soon, but
Muchin just jumps onto Ocean Drake, which for now is going to be uncontested. They got priority in the bot lane after double summoner had to be used. Life. Gonna take that over. Top red side jungle is owned by the team that has Kayle, so in terms of vertical control, that does mean that Kayle gets to push up. There's no Rift Herald to try to take as a answering objective. So the timing here is important for Hanwha Life, and they probably want to reinvade this jungle as someone has a lot of information about Score.
It Knows exactly where he is, and, well, here he comes, but there is a tunnel in position, and most of the gold and damage, or rather, XP already taken out there as Mugen once again looking for a play. Sowon does have TP.
He can TP in and help this turret dive if he wants as well.
Maybe wait for the flag to come down or something, but ends up that they're going to turn back on that one. Score also in position, so probably a good idea that they did not go for the crazy dive down the bottom side.
No harm, no foul though. Mugen can disengage, and Mugen wants to reinvade, like we mentioned, top red side jungle pre-10 minutes, so that the next time a Drake comes around, you don't just give a mountain for Rift Herald trade you feel less good about if you're Hanwha Life. We're past 9 minutes. We're going to name the Red Bramble Pit Control Ward that you were talking about, LCK Summer 2018.
Okay.
It's a happy name for KT Rolster.
Yeah. Finally, something goes right.
Yep.
In one of these games, and I do like that reference, so does make sense. That other one is there, but they know it's there, so probably not going to live as Arrow is going to come down, but TP available. Can they get the kill? Yes, they will, but here's Sowon. Slicing Delstrom, but he's just going for the Ash. This is going to leave Snowflower to live. Not sure about that one. Feel like he could have got both, but either way, will be the 1-for-1. But again, that means that Kale is going to get 2 plates in the top.
And that's always the thing when you're laning against a Nasus, or nowadays against a Kale, is if I do something and don't get the maximum, what's left in the lane and what's happening? It's Kale picking up more gold. So I agree. Actually using your teleport advantage to get an answering kill there is honestly not a great look for Sowon in particular. That's going to clear out some vision, but that's one of their globals used for, at best, a trade that's not 50-50.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they gain much from that, but now Snowflower making his way up to the top side alongside P, who got here earlier, in fact, trying to secure this Rift Herald, and Ash is going to tell them about this. As there's the combo from Talia, the flash does come in, trying to burst the top Kents, and they will! See you later, support. Down goes Snowflower. This is going to make this a 5-on-3 when Lucian gets there. And Nash is not in position. Score going to get in the backside. Is going to use that ult with the tail. Is surviving for a long time, but all of this damage and the kills going to go the way of Hanwha alongside of Shelly.
Communication for KT is once again the issues we saw in game number 1 rearing its ugly head. Consider that Gango was never going to be there, and yet they were still continuing to walk in after the Tahm Kench died with no summoners up. Hanwha Life just said, wait, Tahm Kench used Cleanse Flash in the last fight, killed him, and then KT continued to go in, trying to contest when they were going to be outnumbered. So, unfortunately, they've lost the bot side objective that was a reflection of map state, and now they've lost the top side objective and got some extra gold into the cannon. So yes, Kingen is getting his farm on, but apart from that, things are not going fantastically for KT.
We'll have to wait and see if KT can survive to that uber late game, the level 16 Kale. We've seen what it can do, but would have to agree that some of the decisions in particular from KT in both Game 1 and Game 2 have not been very good. I mean, they've been just straight up bad, and that raises questions as to, you know, where's the mental state right now for KT? What are they thinking when they do these kind of things? Because it definitely is frustrating to start off with a kill, but then go in for more here.
The first kill is acceptable. Yes, the rest aren't there, but it's Snowflower saying, I don't want this Rift Herald to go down. He gets flashed on, that happens. It's everything after this where they continue poking. What is this duo gonna do? The ult doesn't go on cooldown when it's stasis, so it's still available, but then they just can continue to get taken down by the members of Hanwha Life. The start of the play, yes, but at some point, you look at all the AoE crowd control threat there is, and you say, okay, not our Rift Herald. Instead, they over-pursue it, and it seems like LCK Summer 2018 is gone, Valdez, because that ward, it's dead.
It's long gone now, as we are not seeing the same KT that we used to in the past, that's for sure. Going down here in gold twice in a row up against Hanwha, who are in 6th place. I remember a bunch of games in the past where Hanwha were the challengers, but doesn't feel like that anymore. Not in 2019. As Mountain Drake is alive, we'll see if KT actually decide to come on in here and fight for this one. Not sure if that would be the right decision.
Nashor's Tooth Rush for the Kayle, had Stinger and the Fiendish Codex in the inventory, so it is a different build path. Again, we've been skeptical about even if 5v5 Kayle will be able to scale into that 5v5 spot. Here are the globals we talked about.
No flash for Tom Kent, but double TP does come in. Score gonna get taunted though and immediately dies. And the one-man knockup on the King in here. Mujin trying to do his best, but good ultimate from the Kayle. But here's Sowan into the backline. A huge slicing maelstrom. It's gonna shut them all down. The ace is gonna go the way on the back of the triple kill from Sowan.
And this is why we had our skepticism of how Kayle fit into the comp. AoE is what she can't deal with, and she had to self-ult and wasn't doing damage during the fight. So yes, stayed alive with the ultimate, but unfortunately, it just around it is Sowan scurrying in so late as the cannon. Little Chipmunk is the last person to show up, and the little Chipmunk gets it all done. 404, KT not found. This cannon is fed.
He's super fed, right? But again, it was KT. They were kind of saying like, yeah, come at us. We have score in the bottom brush. We want to fight. We've got double TP. Gango's almost baiting it here in the front, and they're trying to fight when Kayle's not at her power spike, when they have the cannon against them. This doesn't look good.
One AoE taunt is down, but then consider how the fight plays out. They're trying to hit onto one person, but Kayle self-ult, so isn't doing damage. And then Sowan says, oh look, basically a free quadra kill is available to me. Like someone's smirking, right? Because he's like, I mean,
all he said was wow.
Like, this was not a cannon super outplay on the flank. This was a front door cannon being invited in, given a cup of cocoa and 4 kills.
As he didn't even have the most damage in the fight, that actually goes the way of Talia, who was there for more of the fight and doing that consistent damage, so it does make sense. But take a look at the side of KT. Kayle, 820, was ulting herself, not doing damage. Rek'Sai, 269. He barely did anything in that fight. He got taunted and died immediately. Rek'Sai not looking good for score today.
And that's, again, why we said skirmishes look pretty good for KT. You land an Ash Arrow, Rek'Sai barrels in, has a lot of burst damage at one item, absolutely. But 5v5, that's why I was incredulous with the Kayle, because AoE ult from the cannon, AoE taunt on a regular ability from the Galio, and also the Jarvan has his AoE CC. The AoE is where KT can't salvage it, and like you mentioned, they were inviting an AoE team fight that they had no way to disengage.
They're inviting it when perhaps they should be waiting a little bit, but it is enticing when you do have Lissandra, Ashe, Rek'Sai, this pick ability, but especially when they're down, you're going to get fights that look like that a lot more of the time. So now they essentially have to say, well, now we're down 4,000 gold. I hope that Kayle can get us out of this mess, and that we can wait for level 16 for her, because it's going to be a while until we do get to that moment. And after that fight, we're not in a great spot.
And that will have to be 1 in the 1 rather than the 5 we're predicting, so they will have to have strong macro around enabling a Kayle split push. And from there, Galio can swoop in, Talia can swoop in. It's pretty hard for one person to carry this game. It needs to be team outplays. And they picked a comp that wants to get their picks going in the mid game or to out-rotate. They've been styled on when it comes to the macro this game. They lost 2 Drakes in the bot side and Rift Herald and have no turrets. They've got nothing, Valdez. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, if they're willing to walk into AoE team fights and they're not taking over any parts of the map, that's just a sign of a team that loses.
Well, now we got the walls coming down. It's not the old Talia where it lasts for like an hour, it feels. I think it's only 6 seconds at level 11. As still going to be able to zone for a little bit. There's not too many other objectives for Hanwha Life right now. They could probably try to push in the top side too, as that turret is pretty low for KT, but they want this mid turret first.
He walks up, just trying to threaten.
Ash Arrow even comes forward just to try to buy time, and Mujin does lose half his health, but not able to get anything else off the back of that.
And he flashes up, that's why you're seeing respect being shown and being channeled so early, just to zone away the enemy. Mujin's not going to be spotted until he actually clears out the tunnel. So they're aware of his position. Probably should just throw the flag off to both threaten and all in and give attack speed to his charges.
Snowflower goes back, and, well, Gang goes all alone in the mid lane. Doesn't look like KT are even going to put up a stand here as everybody's going in on the Kingin. They do get his flash for the small price of 2 ultimate abilities and 2 turrets on the backside. Hanwha Life doing a good job to press their lead.
All in onto KO, put everything into position. KT weren't in position to actually punish the unit in the mid lane, so they actually take the inner tower as a trade for a flash and ult. For the Jarvan, feel pretty good about that, because now King hits the side lane, where he wants to find advantages with no flash. It's a lot more susceptible to being taken down. Someone rushes in, could just solo kill BDD.
Oh man, BDD, he was greeting for that Demolish proc. We've seen that happen before, but did have his team behind him, so Sohan not gonna go all in on that one for the kill.
Very respectful from Sohan, showed good map awareness despite the fact that you could understand him just saying, I've got a lot of items, I'm gonna try and kill you. So good to see he's still doing the 1% things. This is not a great lane assignment attempt.
And though, there's the ultimate comes down, and imagine if the Kale could do damage in that ultimate now. That would definitely change things up as, not sure what that was, Tempt.
Played that so badly.
That was the Valdez ultimate right there, as Kingin is getting so much value here. Now, gonna bait in Mujin off the back of the TP, as 2 kills will actually go the way of KT off of that weird and wonky play.
You remember when you said, imagine if the KO could do damage? If Tempt had had that same thought, he would have just killed the Kale, because Kale was disarmed, and he could have just killed him. He had flash up, but he flashed defensively, respectfully, and died. So that was really poor by Tempt after his Corki game. Whoops.
Yeah, you know, you're allowed to make one mistake a game, but again, that's Kale, so you gotta be careful. You don't want to be feeding her, getting her kills or anything like that, getting her level. She's level 13 now. So, gotta be careful about that one. And KT even gonna be able to come down here off the back of that and pick up Infernal Drake. So slowly, some of the pieces starting to come together.
First Drake of the game for KT Rolster, a nice feel. Watch the replay here, and I'm 100% certain that if Tempt stuck on this, he would have got the kill. Kingin disarms at 150 health, and Tempt with 600 health flashes away. That's just wrong.
And then he's like, yeah, I'm coming to get you. Well, no. 1 Q is going to do the AoE, and then you can buffer the E. You can just use your E, and then the second she comes in range, it's going to go off immediately. So, not sure about that one.
Also, I'm sure if we showed the replay, they would have known that too. Speaking of replays, in the replay, that's a low Baron.
Trying to come in the backside here is Snowflower and Score, so respectfully, once again, Hanwha Life as, okay, they really want to kill Genko here. Stun does come in, but Kale is in position. Remember that Sohan did use Flash and Slicing Maelstrom to try to get on top of the Ashe.
Hanwha Life are now suddenly, with no real need to, rushing themselves and feeling a bit desperate. This is some undisciplined play from a team that's been very disciplined today. So Hanwha Life, suddenly, after losing the Infernal and things going against them in the skirmish, are being a little bit off the boil. Let's see if KT can find a way to punish them. King comes back. Do notice that his build is a little bit of everything. Theory behind the build is that Sheen is so core on Kale, especially if you go Klepto. It gives you mana to trade with your Q&E. Speaking of mana, though.
No Slicing Maelstrom. He's only going to be able to get that stun down, and so that is going to save his life, but you can see already that King is picking up some items, and when some cooldowns are down on that cannon, you do have to be respectful.
You rush Sheen, you have mana to trade, and if you have Klepto, get Klepto procs. Against a ranged opponent, you need the chance to E. Off cooldown, you get the Sheen order, right? So you get some sort of trade windows. After that, though, you can either rush it into Triforce and go the crit build, or you can hold on to it because you need it as a core, and you could actually just go Rage Bait Nashor's Lich Bait if you wanted. The Trinity Force is optional from this point on, and you do have arguments to go into multiple different build paths. So the Sheen Rush is always there. The Triforce Rapid Fire Cannon IE build is the core build in Korea, but King wanted to go a different direction, and that means the Sheen can sit for a while.
Sit back there, help out with some auto attacks eventually, and clock is ticking because that Infernal and level 14 Kale is really scary already, even though it is only 23 minutes into this game. Hanwha Life do have a sizable lead at 4,000, but definitely that can be overcome with a couple of team fights that go KT's way. So even the Observer getting the zoom in onto Kingen, he knows where KT's bread is buttered, and Hanwha Life seems to really want to rush this down and not have to deal with that late game.
Now, Hawk's shot is going to negate any attempt at two-man Baron. That's the reality now. How does this play go? They're cutting them off. Can they deep it? They're trying to burst it down.
Hey, really trying to burst it down. It's up to Key to try to get that stun on down, and he will be able to get it. Mujin will be able to pick up the smite in the backside, and down will go Lysandra, who is all alone there. Mujin gonna go for the follow-up ultimate. Not sure if that's gonna work out as Snowflower gets low, but Gango and Kingen, full health. Gotta really respect them. Hanwha Life with the Baron will eventually back away.
I think Hanwha Life in general played the Baron well. Shout out to Key, who did everything he needed to do. He guaranteed that there was no way in for score. First hit with the Justice Punch and then taunted. The wall play is, like you mentioned, not as potent as they were a year ago when the wall duration was 3 seconds longer, but watch Key, one interrupt, channels the taunt. I think Score should have flashed earlier just to get distance near the pit, whether he could get in or not with the flash. By then, he could never get over the wall, isn't able to contest the Baron. The Baron is picked up, and now KO can't even hit the side lane as reliably as before. Not a huge amount of value from the Cannon Ultimate in this fight. They're going to return. There is that Nashor's, and the timer towards 16 is probably 2 to 3 minutes.
Already level 15, you can see just chomping down on all those minions in the mid lane even. Hanwha Life, they're on a mission to try to do as much damage as possible now with the Baron push. They're going to take as much vision as possible down on the bottom side and attempt to take that bottom tier 2 and move on in. So it'll be interesting to see if Kingen can actually hit level 16 on time for when they're forced to fight and save some of those inhibitors. And to add to that, we do have the Infernal that's coming up in 9 seconds.
Very, very hard for KT to do everything they want to do because you can't be greedy when you're this far behind and against Baron buff especially. KO can be poked out around turrets. Yes, you can provide some wave clear, but 550 range for now. It's only going to be able to do so much. As you can see the Q, not really going to be doing any real damage to minion waves. And I'm a strong believer that this is the sort of game that KO will not prosper in because of all the threat of AoE crowd control. So, yes, we know all about how much respect a level 16 KO and the power spike should represent, but I endeavor to think this will be a low roll on those team fights, but I'm prepared to be proven wrong.
It'll be interesting to see who the Devour gets used on. You can Devour Kale and try to Kale ult Ash, actually. That's one way to do it. Nice seismic shove is really going to chunk down the top Kench here, so immediately Snowflower is going to have to back away. Looks like we're going to have our first inhibitor of the game now taken into time.
Is happy to threaten, have different people walk up and pull back, and then have the minions with Baron buff do most of the work. It's not a fallback Baron, but a fallback Infernal is only seconds of Baron and Elder for a 27-minute pickup. Hanwha Life have a couple of ranged auto attackers who are eventually able to poke it out, and they know they can fall back to a Baron. They got 3 controls, an Infernal Drake. They got 3 control wards around it, and a lot of pick CC, so impossible for KT to contest this.
Absolutely no way for them to get on in, so Hanwha will have their response Infernal. This is going to be quite nice, especially for Zoan and Songyun, who will be able to get on in there. Talia, as the game goes on, not going to be doing quite as much damage, especially as the resistances are built up, but definitely Zoan's engaged and get even spicier. Songyun in the backline continue to do more damage.
I almost wish that our Observer would troll the rest of the broadcast and just hard lock into Kale, who does evolve to level 16 on our screens, because I actually want to have the status bar up and see if in a team fight, how many autos can KO get off with six stacks of Rage Blade? Because compared to the crit build, you got less burst because you don't have, say, 75% crit autos with a rapid fire cannon. You have burst after someone's low because you do missing health damage on the E, but that's just base damage, it doesn't scale. The actual missing health percentage doesn't scale. And your instinct is that you're not going to get warmed up and keep auto-attacking when Galio Flash Taunt, Cannon Ultimate, Jarvan Threat. It seems very difficult for Kale to wave a wand and do 1 million damage in an AoE in the team fights that she's set up to fight against on Hanwha Life.
It really has to be a near-perfect team fight, as you're mentioning, for her to really get too much down. And I think that's going to be on the backs of Hanwha Life to, as I'm saying that, actually, we're just going all in, trying to kill the top Kets, and that's going to be a really important piece, actually. That Devour that we talked about before that could save the KO in some of these fights is now taken away.
Never saw a lot of teamfight KO from W10D2 Gaming until they had a huge gold lead, and we saw that even with that, it took them a long time to close the game, Valdez. Some of that was their own mistakes, but I think KO's reliability in the teamfight is overrated. Let's see if she can do anything. It's 4v5.
Oh, he gets the knock-up, and see you later! That's the Taliyah damage! That's what I'm talking about. Gets it down, and Mujin gets the stopwatch right on the backside as well. It's going to be up to Gengo now, as down will go the Galio, but Songyun still being alive here means that you're not really going to be able to fight that 1-2v3. Really fantastic engage there from Mujin, sets up the play.
We went from a horror film, level 16 KO, what will it mean, till a farce instantly as the jump scare burst and popped in half a second. Super squishy champion. She actually takes about 1,400 damage instantly and dies. The health bar was literally way over 1,000 and then 0 in the blink of an eye. Need the 0.25 second slowdown on a VOD review to see anything more there. We don't get that. KO doesn't get to do anything. That's why Kale, I think, in some scenarios, is overrated. This KO needed to play in the lane. She's not going to get to. The map control is completely on the side of Hanwha Life.
Again, that's part of the reason why you will play the Taliyah sometimes if you have lockdown. I remember talking about Taliyah in the jungle and Sion and, you know, another lockdown champion in the mid lane. If you can get one initial CC and find somebody squishy, they're dead if you can land your combination. So definitely fun stuff for Tempt. Was able to pick that one up. We're taking a look at some wards here for the Kennen. Got a good one on the left side already, a couple of them actually.
How can you do anything here, right? It's so hard unless Hanwha Life make a mistake.
Okay, Kido's gonna take a lot of damage, gets zoned away by his own wall as Kennen, he's going into the base, guys. We gotta take a look at the Kennen right now.
How much work can he get done? KT, understand
TP
it.
Coming in from Lucian too. And well, this is going to be the turrets going down, and we got two auto attackers.
They got it.
Be chunking it down. It's too late for the side of KT. GG as they get baited into the Baron fight, and the TP from Sohan wins Hanwha game 2.
And you just understand the frustration for KT, because like, how do we get anywhere near the Baron? Oh, we got someone, but it was all a clever ruse by Hanwha Life Esports. Some embraces being seen in the crowd. The fans know they've done it, and they've done it cleanly. Sohan and Mujin come in, and Mujin ends the season if he doesn't play the next series 2-1, right? He's got the positive win rate going in today. Sohan gets his first 2 wins of the season as well. Hanwha Life Esports take down KT, and it's not lost on me that Genji needed the win, went down 2-0 to W10D2 with nothing to play for, and we see the same situation today. KT Rolster with everything to play for, KT down 2-0, and Afrika Freaks are probably watching on bemused and saying, wow, this is going better than expected, with everyone losing in straight sets around us.
It's really important because KT now, they're down 1 game on both Genji and Afrika. They're 4-13, Genji and Afrika are 5-12, so the only hope for KT really is that they get a win against W10D2 Gaming, who, by the way, looked quite good yesterday. They have to get the win, and then they have to win a tiebreaker against Genji and Afrika, and one of those teams have to lose to even set up the tiebreaker. So, really in a bad spot. This was the team that KT had to win against, and honestly, guys, that series was a pretty bad one from KT. That's not what you need when your life in the LCK is on the line.
It doesn't look like KT will be able to win a match, and it doesn't matter what anyone else does. KT have to win a match. They're at 4 match wins, 4 best-of-3 victories. Both Afrika and Genji have 5, so if KT don't win, they're done. That's the reality of their scenario. I believe they played W10D2 Gaming.
Yes, I was just saying all of what you just
And because it's W10D2 Gaming, who actually came out looking great in a very similar scenario to Hanwha Life, you know, it's worth just saying it again and again. The KT we see today is not the KT we saw become LCK Summer 2018 champions, even though they have two of the same players on the roster. Smeb not playing today. We do see Score starting, but Score I thought was very poor today, especially in game number 1.
We harp again.
That is, of course, the endearing
Yes.
French fans meme for many moons. A Pantheon meme and a SOAS meme, to be true. The KT memes, the Super Team meme, seems like a long time ago. Hanwha Life Esports, that was the end of the season, and they end the season on a happy note. Congratulations to them. They don't play again in LCK Summer 2018 is when they will return, and I wonder if they return with So1 and Mugen demanding more playtime than ever before.
Wouldn't be too surprised. Songin's parents here should be very happy with the way that this day went. It was a complete stomp of an organization of KT Rolster. It says, today also let's laugh brightly, let's smile brightly.
There's a lot of Avengers font and going on there. Hope Marvel's not watching that one. Hanwha Life. But we're looking around the crowd. A lot of jovial faces today.
That
the
says,
Hanwha
I'm
Eagles.
happy.
He's a Hanwha Eagles supporter. Hanwha is a really big company in Korea. They sponsor a baseball team, a basketball team, all of those things. Feeling really good are the Hanwha Life faithful.
Yeah, so it kind of, we said it before, we both said it actually, that KT have to win up against Dom1 Gaming, who looked quite good after yesterday, to even avoid relegation, to have a chance at avoiding relegations. They'd have to win a tiebreaker somehow after that, and now we're just wondering, like, who is KT going to be playing in that relegation? It's kind of sad, but it seems to be the reality right now, as it was very one-sided once again to the side of Hanwha in 2 games.
If APK Prince, the team that you guys might remember from the Kesper Cup, that is the lineup with Iksu, now Ursu in the top lane, Kao in the jungle, Mickey in the mid lane, playing Zed in Challengers, which was a very fun one to watch, and then Fury in Secret. Fury most recently over in the LPL, but was on Samsung and Longzhu in the LCK in Secret, formerly of Hongdu Monster. If they actually win their last game, they're in the promotion tournament, and there might be the irony upon all ironies. What if Kakao relegated his old team, KT Rolster?
Definitely could happen. It'll be interesting to see, you know, who does make it in, and it'll be a fun week to decide who's going to be staying here in the LCK or what new teams we could have come in. As this looked funny at first, it looked like he was just zoned out, and they're like, well, sorry, dude, but actually it was all about distracting and having Kennen teleport in the backside.
This is a really good TP. We caught it early during the actual fight because you're like, wait, where's the Kennen? What he's flanking to? He's not flanking, he's going for the end. Yeah. Lucian finishes off the story. It wasn't even close when it came for the Kale to try to contest. Deserved victory, and the Talia last pick actually ended up being a really nice pick there.
Yeah.
Burst damage and AoE crowd control are the hard counters to Kale. Yes, if you're way ahead, you can just negate burst damage with your ulti, but in scenarios where you can't choose that, or you can't time that, you understand that Kale, who at one fight had her items level 16 and died from 1500 health instantly, burst damage, pretty damn good.
I just wonder how this second game could have looked differently if KT didn't get themselves like handshake on the fight in the bottom lane where Sohan got the triple kill and Lucian got the double kill. You know, Kale was doing okay, and they had a much better chance to win the game if they didn't, you know, just handshake on that fight and lose all 5 people with the Kale that was doing well and getting a lot of gold. So many things could have done so much better, but Sohan here, even though his first TP was questionable, his second team fight was godlike.
Definitely played the Kennen very well. We thought the Kale into Kennen was bold, definitely echoed by the result we saw. And I love the word you use, because you use the word handshake. The handshake is true because it was a bit of a gentleman's agreement. There was no reason or incentive for KT to fight there. Yes, Hanwha Life have more fight tools to force the fight, but KT could have just disengaged this many steps previously. Instead, they opted in, and that was opting into their own doom. So that was a very big mistake from KT Rolster, but they also opted in to adjacent level 1 in game number 1 and largely lost the game from the level 1. That felt like a game lost at level 1.
Yeah.
This one wasn't at level 1, but unforced errors is what I usually talk about. KT made numerous over this series.
Wasn't clean, but Hanwha should be very happy with their victory. I'm going to hand it to Ji-sun for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is season 6 MVP translation, and we're going to be joined by Mujin and Soan from Hanwha Life Esports. Mujin, it has been a while. How do you feel about picking up victory and also MVP? I'm really happy that I was able to show up in the last moment and get the victories and win. I just want to keep performing well. And I am satisfied with my own performance today. Soan, we're seeing you more and more nowadays, and this is your first MVP. How do you feel?
MVP 받아서 좋아요.
I'm happy that I got the MVP.
또 하나 더 좋은 점이 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
Would you like to add on to that a little bit more? And we're finally getting some vacation. I'm happy.
기다리고 있군요. 네, 이렇게 마지막 경기를 승리로 장식해서 더 행복한 하나 생명입니다. 자, 무진 선수,
Mujin.
오늘 마지막 경기고 또 팬분들도
This
많이
was
기다리셨을
the last
거기
game for
때문에
Hanwha
부담감이
of the
있었을
Spring
것
Splits.
같아요.
Did you feel any pressure?
어떠셨나요?
솔직히 부담감은
To
좀
be honest,
많긴 컸는데
I did feel a lot of pressure, but I just wanted to like convert that into good performance.
이 자리에는 안 계셨지만 뒤에서 많이 연습하시고 많은 노력하셨을
Well, I
텐데.
cannot wonder how hard you practice for this moment. So is there a message you want to deliver to your fans? I was a little bit sad that I wasn't able to play on stage a lot, but you know, I think I did quite well today, so I'm gonna keep working hard to make a lot of performance on stage in the summer splits. And so we have this highlight over here, the level 1 fight in the jungle. Whose plan was that? Well, as a team, we knew that we were stronger in level 1, so we really wanted to make this invade happen. So we knew that we were just gonna win no matter what, so we just wanted to keep going in. Well, those two champions are way stronger than the champions that KT Rolsters had in level 1, so we knew that we were gonna win that fight. Mujin, you just skipped all the jungle camp and went down for a bot lane gank. Was that your own idea? Well, I don't really remember exactly, but I think our minion wave was... I mean, like, I knew that KT's minion waves were pushing in, so I just wanted to skip the jungle camp, and I knew that they had the award in the tri-bush, so I just wanted to go with the fast path for the gank. And so we were just communicating about who's gonna engage, who's gonna open team fights, and I think that was really worth it.
와, 진짜 저것도 이제 무진 선수의 빠른 판단력이 엄청 빛을 발한
I think your
장면이라고
quick decision
생각을 합니다.
was the key of that gank.
축하드립니다.
Congratulations once again, Mujin.
2세트 얘기 나눠볼게요.
Soan, let's move on to game 2.
나왔는데
Kingyan played Kale. Did you expect that?
예상했어요.
Yes, I did.
쪽 팀들이 연습하길래
I knew that they were doing a lot of practice on it.
또 보여주고 있었고 솔랭에서
But Kingyan, he was definitely playing so well in the solo queue as well, so why didn't you guys just band it out?
약한 타이밍 때 저희가 이득 볼 수 있다는 생각으로
Well, Kale is really weak in early games, so we knew that we were gonna just kind of punish it in the early game, so we ended up deciding not to ban it. However, Nagri showed a very decent performance on Kale yesterday. Weren't you worried about that?
네, 괜찮았어요.
I think the laning phase was okay.
네, 아주 단호하게 괜찮다고 말씀해 주셨습니다.
That was a very concise answer.
정말 대박 내는 장면이
And
있었습니다. 한타가
Had a
벌어졌는데
really
뒤늦게
advantage moment in the bot lane. You just TP'd in, and your engagement with your ultimate, and it was awesome. So what was going on exactly?
저희 팀이 잘 물어가지고
I think our teammates were actually doing so well even before I arrived, so I was able to just clean them out.
엄청나게 커 있다는 그런 자신감이 있었나요?
그냥 우리 팀이 잘 깔아놓은 거를 제가 다
Well, I
잘
mean,
본 것 같아요.
all my players made it. They engaged so well earlier on.
화제가 됐어요.
That voice, that my check was actually went viral because
무슨 얘기 나눈 건가요?
I mean, what was you guys talking about?
피카츄 아니고 라이츄였다고.
Well, Sangyeon called me, you were not a Pikachu, you're a Raichu. You were even stronger.
강하다는 말이었군요. 네, 알겠습니다. 자, 소환 선수 그리고 마지막 백도어까지.
소환.
누구 생각이었나요?
The backdoor ended the game. Whose
원래는 저희
decision
팀이
was that?
낚시를 하려고 했는데
I mean, we were
명구가
actually
좀
trying to
맛이
bait,
가가지고
but
갑자기 팀을
Tab was
뒤져가지고
falling apart, and we were just like almost losing that team fight, so I just wanted to end the game.
그때 그 상황에 탈리아가 그렇게 궁을 그릴 줄 몰랐는데.
I mean, I actually didn't expect Talia to use an ultimate like that awfully, so I knew that we were screwed up, so I just wanted to, I just told others to TP and take down the Nexus.
결국 경기는 승리로 끝났습니다. 야, 정말 처음 인터뷰 하시는데도 정말
I cannot believe this is your first interview.
무진 선수는
조금 익숙하긴 한데.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm used to having interviews, but it is, I haven't had any interviews in a while, so I feel a little bit awkward up here. So you guys are gonna having a long break now. You guys did finish your split with a victory today, so any last message?
나와서 처음으로 이긴 거라 좀
This is my first time winning game on stage. I'm really happy, and I have a long vacation, but I'm gonna make sure to practice really hard during my vacation to come back with improved performance in the summer split. And so on. Thank you for all the fans supporting me. And
잘 휴가 갔다 왔으면 좋겠고.
I hope all my teammates have an awesome vacation. Thank you.
어디로 가실 계획이세요?
Swan, what's your plan for your vacation?
생각이 없어요 아직.
I have no thoughts.
네, 알겠습니다. 자, 하나생명 오늘 승리 정말 축하드리고요.
Once again, congratulations to Hanwha Esports, and I hope you guys have a great vacation till the summer break.
네, 무진 선수, 소환
This will be
선수와
the end of the interview with Wujin and Swan, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-Sung, for the wonderful translation. Sohan, pretty cute, just trying to keep it together there up on stage.
He seems so nervous. He's been a pro player for like 4 years. To be fair, he was on Junior, so he didn't get interviewed that much.
Yeah, this might have been like his third interview ever. You never really know.
I want to say he's had maybe 8 or 9 in like 4 years. Like, that's not that many if you think about it.
Sure. And there's a large gap in between the interviews as well.
Sure.
So by the time he gets up there again, he's like, oh God, it's happening again. Like, I got to go on stage. But yeah, I mean, the Raichu is back. We don't really have the right casters to talk about Pokemon tonight, but the Raichu was there. We all know Raichu, so.
I played a lot of Pokemon, red, blue,
So
yellow, and green. The first 2 generations aren't there. After that, I played some of them, but aren't there in the same way. But you're right, we have the Pokemon experts coming in later in the week. We might have KT Rolster coming in after this week, as they are now relegation bound. They must beat Damwon and to some degree have results go their way. I'm not sure where the head-to-head is at, because there might be an interesting head-to-head issue with their opponents. Afrika beat KT, so it's possible that KT even lose head-to-head to Afrika. Not sure if that's 1-1 or 1-0, but or 2-0, sorry, but we'll find that out later. All we know is if KT don't win against Damwon Gaming on the 31st, they are done. And that is the final day of the season, Valdez. So on the final day of the season, Atlas and S will find out if KT will have the ignominy of going from champions to relegations.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's ever happened before in LCK history, so that's actually a really fantastic day. You know, because it's Jinair versus Griffin, which already LS has made a tweet about how we're like going behind the black hole, the event horizon thing. But also KT versus Damwon could seal their fate for promotions, and even just going to promotions is